p.m. in Washington now, 4 p.m. in Los Angeles. 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts and 10,000 homes in the line of the fire that is racing through the Pacific Palisades neighborhood. And this is going to get worse as the sun goes down, the wind picks up, and it is clear the fire departments are on the backside of this, trying to catch up. We're seeing houses burn over and over and over again, with one firefighter showing up, maybe two, because they are so outmatched right now by this fire as they try to call in resources. 250 firefighters, 5 helicopters coming in. This is just the beginning. We have coverage from KTLA, our own station in Los Angeles, also from Nancy Liu on the ground. Pacific Palisades, hilly neighborhoods up to the north and west of Los Angeles and Los Angeles International Airport. 23,000 people are being told to quite literally run for their lives. Malibu now also in the line of the fires. The Hollywood airport with a ground stop. Gavin Newsom has arrived on the scene, and the scene on the right-hand side of the screen is truly stunning. One that is going to continue over and over and over again. Right now we're at 1,200 acres. That will certainly expand. We're going to try to get back to either Nancy Liu or KTLA, who's on the ground. Nancy, I'm struck by the building burning behind you, this home, but also the fact that there's one firefighter who drove past you. We're not seeing big responses. Is that because they're so overwhelmed?
Yes, there are so many fires happening right now, Leland. Behind me is just one of them, and we've been watching this home. Sadly, it is literally burning to the ground as I speak. You can see that black smoke. See how fast it's flying because the winds here, they are just whipping. And we heard from fire officials a short time ago that this is like the worst of the storm is yet to come. The windstorm is supposed to last through tomorrow into the afternoon. So we're expecting gusts of 80 miles an hour, possibly more, as the night goes on. But you can see, now that the gusts have cleared out some of this smoke, you can see there are flames beyond this home into the hills. It is a dynamic situation. There are so many fires for firefighters to handle right now. And so they're
Nancy,
just
any
spread
idea who that
super
person who's
thin,
walking
but
is?
hundreds are coming in from everywhere.
Any idea who that person walking behind you?
He actually lives in the area. Yeah.
Wow.
He actually lives in the area. We spoke to him earlier. He's been talking to another neighbor who's trying to hose down the house and try to prevent the flames from spreading to the homes across the street. And a lot of people, Leland, people were ordered to evacuate this area. A lot of people, they got in their cars, they went down to the traffic, and they saw the traffic, and they turned right back around because it was not moving. And so one man I spoke with, he said, I'm just going to go home and hope for the best. Traffic has thinned out by now, so hopefully, people who didn't evacuate might consider doing it now because this fire, you know what, I'm going to turn around and show you the dark smoke that's right behind us, which is an indication that we probably should go, Leland.
Yeah, I was going to say, Nancy,
because
when
we
you
do
have to
an
go,
escape route planned.
You have an escape route, okay. Where is it? Just talk us through for people who don't understand where you are and your ways out.
Yeah, well, Pacific Palisades, it's hilly. There are a lot of roads. So this is our road out. We already plotted it, but look at that black smoke. It's coming our way. And it's right near our vehicle. So we actually need to head out and get out of here. But this area is actually starting to clear out. So I don't know, Nate, should we stay up here and wait for that to clear out?
No, we should go to the car.
Okay. Yeah, Nate's thinking we should make our way to the car and get out of here. Before we get trapped, actually, encircled.
I'm with Nate on this one, Nancy. Thank you very much. When you guys get to a safe spot, we're going to check back in with you. Nancy Liu now on the ground in Los Angeles. Bob Skaggs with us right now. Bob, based on your knowledge as you were watching these pictures, what are you looking for?
Well, we're actually in the car at this point. We began in Mandeville Canyon, which is a part of Brentwood that's adjacent to Pacific Palisades. And about 45 minutes ago, we elected to evacuate.
Oh, we were ordered.
And we hit traffic, as you would expect, leaving Mandeville Canyon because it feeds into Sunset. And Sunset, as you know, is the almost exclusive ingress-egress to Pacific Palisades. So we encountered just a steady stream of people, cars, vehicles, going east on Sunset, escaping the Pacific Palisades community.
Bob, give us a sense of how long you had from the time you got the evacuation order. God, I'm watching Nancy Lou's camera. You can see the ash flying around. These are live pictures from KTLA, another home going up. From when you got the evacuation order to when you started seeing smoke and understanding how dangerous this fire was, how long was it?
Well, let me back you up. We started seeing smoke as early as, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Pacific time, and you could see it beyond Santa Monica, so south of Santa Monica. And we've been under, I think it's called a Code 3 evacuation. So our area was not mandatory, but elective at this point. But understanding that we have the night to go with heavy winds, we just decided to take off.
Bob, I know you can't see the pictures that we're looking at. Right-hand side of your screen is a picture from KTLA. You can see a house that is burning to the ground.
Yeah.
Big fire trucks there and a couple of firefighters who have no chance against the blaze. The only hope they have is that it doesn't spread. And then live pictures, the right-hand side of your screen, lawns on fire, approaching homes with no firefighters around. As you left your house, what's the realization like that you may not have anything to come home to?
Well, it's all relative, right? We value life, our pets, more than we value property, and it's just part of living in an area that has things like fires, earthquakes, and Mother Nature.
I hear you there. As you and your friends talk about this, 23,000 people ordered to evacuate. The windstorm's going to get worse. You've been through this before. Is it usual that you're having homes burn with no firefighters available to come help put it out?
Well, let me back you up a little bit. We're new to the area. We just moved to Southern California 2 years ago. So this is a completely new experience for us. So again, out of an abundance of caution, understanding we're new and not fully understanding the resources that are on the ground, we decided to be cautious and heed the warnings to evacuate.
And help us understand, Bob, the areas, Pacific Palisades, these areas, they're rolling hills, but there's houses that are pretty close together, right? This isn't by any means a rural area.
Oh, absolutely not. It's fairly dense in terms of the proximity of housing, a few small businesses and the like. So, yes, very mountainous, very hilly. But having said that, densely populated. And the homes, to your point, for the most part, are on less than an acre.
Wow. And, Bob, last question for you. You got out, you said your pets as well. And I could hear your wife in the background as we're watching a camera crew sort of walk through driveways that are now burning right up to homes. Tell us who you were able to get out with, your wife and your pets?
Yes, four dogs. We have a daughter that lives south of Santa Monica, and we're just going to go over there and bunk with her tonight.
All right. Well, Bob, we're glad you got out. Invariably in these situations, there is a lot of people who are going to have to try to drive out through these fires. These are live pictures, I believe, coming to us from KTLA as Malibu is now being ordered to evacuate. Hey, guys in the control room, can we listen to anything from KTLA right now? All right, let's just listen into this coverage real quick.
A moment through from Santa Cruz and from Santa Clara County that just were deployed up the mountain. Those resources remain pre-positioned currently in other counties in anticipation of the concerns you just expressed in the wind events. We are anticipating, hopefully we're wrong, but we're anticipating other fires happening concurrently. And that's exactly the previous experience we've had with these kinds of wind events. And that's why we continue to provide and supplement those resources from all across Northern California in particular. One final thing, because I think it's important. My phone lights up all the time, including this morning, about people saying, well, where are all the planes? You said you put all these assets. I want to see them. It was important.
All right, Gavin Newsom talking with probably the worst news so far, that there will be more fires. Right now, the wind gusts blowing this fire are at about 30 miles an hour. That could go to 80 miles an hour by tonight. So we are talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of homes that will burn to the ground between now and tomorrow in Los Angeles, Pacific Palisades, and Malibu. You are watching the beginnings of a major story. Our Nancy Liu's been able to evacuate, but you could see as she walked out through walls of fire on either side of her, just the speed at which this fire is growing, both in intensity and in size. And very clearly, for all of their valiant efforts, the Los Angeles Fire Department, the Los Angeles County Fire Department is really way behind the speed and the intensity of this fire. Gavin Newsom was talking. When we come back, keeping an eye here on the fires itself. Also, a firestorm that is about to engulf Washington. That would be the new sheriff in town, Donald Trump, coming to Washington. The Trump doctrine, what that means, and how it involves renaming the Gulf of Mexico when we come back. Back with the breaking news, 10,000 plus homes in the way of an out-of-control wildfire in Los Angeles. At the top of the hour, 23,000 residents ordered to evacuate. That number is going up as the winds are going to increase throughout the night from 30-mile-an-hour gusts to 80-mile-an-hour gusts. So there's a lot of people who are leaving their homes and will come back to ashes in Los Angeles. The number of homes destroyed will go into the hundreds, if not thousands. We'll keep our eyes on the live pictures. Our reporting from KTLA and Nancy Liu, as well as you can see firefighters just giving up on some homes to try and move their resources to cut this fire off. Also tonight, major news here in Washington and from Mar-a-Lago, where the next president of the United States is preparing to take office in less than 2 weeks. The president-elect held a long and maybe unsurprisingly contentious press conference today, laying out his vision for a second term. The media predictably followed with hyperventilation. The new American empire. That's the subject of our Why It Matters segment. What we saw today is a blueprint for how Trump plans to deliver on the mandate that he says he was given by the American people. Let's call it the Trump doctrine.
I'm just telling you, this will be the golden age of America. We need Greenland for national security purposes. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up. We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
Can you assure the world that as you try to get control of these areas, you are not going to use military or economic coercion?
No. We are not treated well, as you know, by Canada. Canada is subsidized to the tune of about $200 billion a year, plus other things. If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. They laugh at us because they think we're stupid, but we're not stupid anymore.
All right, Canada, the 51st state, a possible war with Panama and Denmark. None of that's going to happen. But that's Trump. He loves to drive the conversation. And why shouldn't the Gulf of Mexico become the Gulf of America? Announcing to the world, as he did, clearly, there's a new sheriff, set off a predictable media firestorm.
Some new information about what he intends to do, or at the very least is not ruling out when he takes office, including not ruling out a military invasion to conquer Greenland, the Panama Canal?
It's bananas. It's insane.
It is remarkable, somebody who is 2 weeks from resuming the presidency of the United States, who, whether you voted for him or not, whether you like him or not, just engineered a remarkable historical political comeback, is so whiny and so full of grievances.
John King, CNN, and MSNBC pundits still don't get it. They don't understand the man about to become president for the second time. Today was about a show of strength. Our job isn't to judge, but to explain to you what is happening. Trump got elected because Americans thought America had become weak. This was a message of strength. There isn't a lot of mystery to Trump. He is one of the very few politicians who will tell you exactly what he is going to do. And no, he didn't build a big wall that Mexico paid for, but he did effectively close the border. We learned from his first term to take him seriously on policy, but not literally on how he intends to carry it out. Americans want to once again see America as the indispensable nation on earth. And based on what Trump says he's going to do, that's what he is promising. With us now, Mark Short, chairman of the board for Advancing American Freedom, Trump's administration's first term director of legislative affairs. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Leland.
It's good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
You worked with Donald Trump. Do I sort of have this right?
I think you got it exactly right. I think it's in part a contrast to what the previous 4 years were of showing American weakness on the national stage, and he's projecting strength. I think there's a little bit more to it, too. There's some trolling going on as Jimmy Carter lies in rest right here, and he gave away the Panama Canal. I'm sure that Trump wants to have part of that.
He talked about that. I mean, he went after and he said the worst thing that Jimmy Carter did as the funeral was happening was the Panama Canal. So there you go.
Yes. I think additionally, as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris both go on international tours this week to talk about what they've done, I think Trump wants the conversation to talk about the contrast in foreign policy. So I think some of this is trolling, some of it's stunt, but I do think it's very serious about Greenland. And I think that when I was in the first administration with Vice President Pence, we took a trip to the Arctic and met in Iceland with Arctic nations about the threat that China poses to us, because they're investing enormously in Arctic nations and the passageways that are developing there in that area that you can now navigate. And so that is a more serious conversation. I'm not suggesting there'll be an invasion, but I do think it's serious to us to be talking about the Arctic Circle and Russia investments and China investments, and America needs to be investing as well.
I go back to this idea, and I think the only thing, it's not that they don't get it, it's that they sort of want to find material outrage, because I think you and I both understand there's not going to be an invasion of Greenland or of Panama. But economic coercion is where there are possibilities for the Trump administration, second Trump administration. Does he throw this out intentionally to troll the media, or is it an opening negotiating position with world leaders?
I think it's both. I mean, some of it, again, is trolling. Like I said, I do think that the Panama element is the timeliness of Jimmy Carter's funeral, I think, is there. But as I said, I think in Greenland there should be a negotiation. And I think there is a serious issue.
No coincidence Donald Trump Jr. was there today.
I don't know that you'd send Donald Trump Jr. to be your negotiator. But
emissary?
Having said that, I do think it's a more serious issue that America should be paying attention to, is what's happening in the Arctic. Again, particularly with Chinese investments there.
Yeah, no, it's huge. And in terms of what Greenland means, in terms of the passageway to the Arctic, also U.S. early warning and the like. I noticed today this huge pivot to foreign policy in this press conference. An hour-and-a-half long press conference. There was a little bit about domestic investment in data centers and then to foreign policy. Are you seeing a realization that the domestic policies that are going to require congressional approval, tax cuts, some things about the border, big policy changes, there's an acknowledgement that that's going to be a lot harder than, say, foreign policy that can be done like this?
I'm not sure. I agree with you, it's going to be harder. I'm not sure there's an acknowledgement it's going to be harder. I think that having one big bill is a reality that passing two budgets would be very difficult for Republicans to do two budget reconciliations. And I think one makes a lot more sense, and it's going to take time. And there's going to be probably an impatience from the Trump White House that Congress isn't providing more legislative victories to them. I think that is a reality. But I also think it's time to recognizing that Biden's going to Italy, Kamala Harris is going on her own tour across the globe to say, let me show you what my foreign policy is going to be and how it's different from theirs.
This idea of a Trump doctrine of projecting strength, you worked with him for 4 years. Where does that come from? What is his worldview that informs this?
I don't know that it's so much of a doctrine that is really formed on a history or an understanding of deep study. I think it's more just an innate perspective that America should project strength on the world stage. And I think, that it worked very effectively in the first administration, whether or not you're talking about Donald Trump taking out Russian mercenaries in Syria, what we were projecting as far as strength in our relationship with Asia. And so I hope that continues. I confess to you, I do have some concerns. I think that the CCP has benefited from this transition so far. When you look at Trump reversing his opinion on TikTok and also allowing China to be the world's biggest manufacturer of steel by joining with Biden and opposing the U.S. steel merger. So I do have concerns about that it not replicating the first administration. I hope it goes back to having a strong policy toward China.
It's a great point. And also a great point in terms of where sort of the world now is going back to remembering what Donald Trump was like in the first administration, especially on foreign policy. Mark, it's good to see you.
Great to see you.
Thank you. Pleasure. Joe Biden, as Mark said, is using his last days to travel the world, also to ban offshore drilling, honoring George Soros, among other things, why Democrats should be very worried about the next 10 days. All right, live pictures of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, just down the road from us. You can see the inauguration reviewing stands that have been built for 12 days from now. However, just before President Biden leaves the White House, he's not leaving quietly. For his final acts, he's pardoned his son, Hunter, commuted the sentence for federal death row inmates, issued a massive ban on oil exploration. He's pushing $2 billion in aid to Ukraine. He's trying to regulate how you heat your home. He awarded the Medal of Freedom to, of all people, George Soros, and he's emptying out Guantanamo Bay of hardened terrorists. Biden is breaking right now all the norms of the transition, and perhaps most importantly for his party, he's making it a lot harder for them to oppose whatever they don't like about Donald Trump. Democrats could distance themselves from Biden during the final days of his presidency. Instead, they're still beating the same drum. Here's MSNBC's Rachel Maddow last night giving her take for where the country stands right now.
And when a whole country expects guaranteed violence if one side loses in an electoral contest, then the two political parties in that contest are no longer competing in democratic terms anymore. That is part of what we are contending with on this January 6th. How do we ever get our democracy back now? Because we have, in effect, lost it.
Anne-Marie Cox is with us now, liberal blogger, columnist for the New Republic. Her podcast is called Another Day. Thank you for being with us. I'm trying to figure out the cognitive disassociation here because the whole threat to democracy line, it didn't work in 2024 for Democrats. I'm trying to figure out why sort of the Democratic zeitgeist is still beating the same drum.
I think we have to draw a distinction between your commentators on MSNBC and who the activists might be and who the voters might be. That's kind of three different groups, right? Like, if you want to get your activists and media excited, you can talk about the threat to democracy. I personally think that Trump is a threat to democracy, but that's not what's going to move a lot of people. We saw that, right? And so it can be true that something is really bad and scary, and also true that that's not what voters want to hear. And that's not what necessarily is the best argument to make right now. I personally think that Democrats are not doing themselves any favors by by gathering around Biden at this point, by like defending him or arguing in favor of things like Hunter Biden's pardon, right? Like, I'm actually personally, I don't think he should have pardoned Hunter. But I also think that to support Biden is a mistake right now because it sort of is just looking to the past, right? Like, wouldn't it be better for everyone to look forward? And if you're going to pick a fight with Trump, then pick a fight with Trump over something that he's doing rather than like help the old guy out the door.
No, I hear that. And there seems to be this huge sort of riff or civil war inside the Democratic Party about how to deal with this. The Pod Save America guys, part of the Obama brain trust, all seem to be angry with Joe Biden for a different reason. Take a listen.
Most Democrats were like, this is what it's basically like, this is what it looks like to lose, like not be sore losers.
Yeah, you're good losers. That's what we are now.
And look, you could have easily said Donald Trump incited an insurrection. And this he's tried to lie about it. He's tried to erase history. He's wrong. He is unfit. The American people disagree with my assessment and other people's assessment, but I don't have to pretend that everything's okay.
That's probably sort of the far extreme here. But you think about what Joe Biden's doing on his way out, right? The ban on oil exploration, the nods to the most extreme parts of the Democratic platform that didn't work with voters. Democrats are going to have to answer for that. They're going to have to answer for when these Guantanamo detainees go back to terrorism. And I'm wondering why more Democrats aren't talking about that right now and throwing, for lack of a better term, Joe Biden under the proverbial bus.
I think there are reasons to throw Joe Biden under the proverbial bus, but I believe he's already been hit by it several times. Like, the poor guy. Like, I just want to help him home. Let's just get him out the door as quick as possible. Let him have his retirement with his grandkids and whatnot. In fact, I would have liked him to leave a little while ago, let's say, right? I would prefer him not to run. Some of the things that the administration is doing on the way out the door are things I agree with personally. I'm pretty far to the left. Again,
we know.
Okay, I'm for releasing some of the prisoners in Guantanamo Bay. I'm for reining in oil and gas. Both of us tonight, I feel like oil and gas exploration.
No, I get that you're personally for it, and I get that it's important for sort of the far left, the activists, the commentators, all that. But I think you made a really great point and an honest point at the beginning of the interview, which was what people like to watch on MSNBC or don't like to watch as their ratings plummet isn't necessarily that great, right, for Democratic politics. And I think about what's happening in Congress, right? Wouldn't it be a lot better for Joe Biden to sign the Laken-Riley Act that 159 Democrats voted no on, that would require federal authorities to detain undocumented immigrants charged with burglary, theft, larceny, or shoplifting? Seems pretty basic stuff. Wouldn't that be a better legacy and a way for Democrats to say, hey, look, we've heard the voters speak?
Well, I am not sure that that's quite the law that I would want my Democratic representatives to sign on to. I do think that it's true. We're talking about some performative liberals, right, on MSNBC, and then we're talking about voters. What I would love for Democrats to do is making an argument to voters about why some of the things that they're doing are important. Things that you might not agree with in terms of policy, but things like doing more with green energy. I don't think the mass of American voters made a decision about Kamala Harris. Although same thing, right? That was part of the problem with running Kamala Harris. But I don't think they made a decision between the Democrat and the Republican based on the woke stuff necessarily. I think they looked at their lives and saw their lives didn't seem to be getting a lot better and didn't hear a good argument from the Democrats about how we can make your life better, right? And they heard an argument from Trump that was a very personal one that was I will make your life better. He is very good at that. I don't like the guy, but I think we can agree he is very good at making a direct argument to voters and making it feel like he personally is going to do something to make your life a little bit better, right?
I would agree with you that. I don't really agree or disagree with policies, but I will agree with that from an analysis standpoint. Anna Marie, this was great. It's your first time on the program. We would love to have you back as often as you can be with us. All right?
You see where I am. I've got the setup. I've got the time. I'm happy to come back.
All right. We'll look forward to it. Talk to you soon. You might call it this sort of love triangle. Okay, you've got Donald Trump, and then you've got Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg competing for the love, for the adulation of the most powerful man on earth. Who will win, Musk or Zuckerberg? They once had a cage match, or planned to have a cage match. Now it's the cage match at Mar-a-Lago when we come back. Fire will grow extensively. It's a fast-moving brush fire, already consumed dozens, maybe hundreds of homes in the Pacific Palisades area. That's 23 miles west of Los Angeles. 13,000 homes right now are in the line of the fire. 250 plus firefighters, 5 helicopters on scene. Right now, the winds are at about 30 miles an hour. They're expected to get up to 80 miles an hour to push this fire. There's a number of homes that have been burning. We've seen firefighters just abandon. These are live pictures from KTLA. We're back to our Nancy Liu on the ground, who escaped one neighborhood that was burning and circling her. We'll be back to her in a minute. Then there's live pictures of Mar-a-Lago, where Donald Trump prepares to take office in just 13 days. Today, the president-elect told his old nemesis, Mark Zuckerberg, well, that Zuckerberg's sucking up was working.
I think they've come a long way. Meta, Facebook, I think they've come a long way.
Do you think he's directly responding to the threats that you have made to him in the past?
Probably.
Mark Zuckerberg today made the very obvious admission that so-called fact checkers are biased. So he's going to shelve third-party fact-checking services for Facebook and Instagram.
After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact-checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the U.S.
Welcome to the party, Mark. With us now, Axios tech policy reporter Maria Curie. Maria, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Okay, if Trump had not won, he would not be doing this, right?
Yeah, and I think this is very much a response to the election from the companies as well.
Okay, so we've seen these tech companies give millions, tens of millions of dollars to Donald Trump, to his inauguration, saw Tim Cook of Apple give money, on and on and on and on. But this very personal thing between Zuckerberg and Musk, is it about business or is it about actually sort of a personal feud between the two?
I think it could be about both. I think it could be, gaining favor with, the person who is going to be the next president of the United States and is going to shape technology policy and really lead that charge. And, what we heard about today with the decision to get rid of fact checkers is just the latest in a long line of moves that Mark Zuckerberg has taken to gain favor with Donald Trump. And you have to remember that, Donald Trump previously really did not like Mark Zuckerberg.
No kidding.
He said that he was an enemy of the people. He said that Facebook helped, tank the 2020 election against Trump. And so this is an obvious attempt to gain favor back with the incoming president.
Right. We know that Donald Trump loves nothing more than the romance of the reconciliation. He loves sort of that people coming to kiss the ring, for lack of a better term. Is there any signs publicly, at least other than what he said at his press conference, that what Zuckerberg is doing is working?
No. And if anything, we know from some of his appointments, so some of the more substantive things that have been going on, that he has appointed some people that are actually really critical of big tech. I mean, that does not mean that those policies will ultimately, be enforced. But we have, for example, the nominee for the Federal Communications Commission, Brendan Carr, who has, talked about reining in big tech, getting rid of their liability protections. So this is someone that Donald Trump appointed. But of course, which direction his administration takes could change by the day.
So how much, though, and this is odd because Musk and Zuckerberg have been these huge rivals, right? They once challenged each other to a jiu-jitsu match or a UFC fight or whatever it was. How much of this is Zuckerberg trying to sort of make the case that Zuckerberg, therefore Facebook, needs to be treated the same way that Twitter needs to be treated?
I think that Mark Zuckerberg has seen how successful Elon Musk has been in gaining influence within the incoming Trump administration, with his Department of Government Efficiency being stood up and all sorts of other influences on the administration. And Zuckerberg, is clearly taking that lead with these policies that now would play into the concerns from conservatives for a long time now that their views have been censored online. And so, yeah, it's definitely something that he's taking out of Musk's playbook.
Okay, we have to put the video of Zuckerberg back up, because every time I watch it, I want to laugh. Do we have any idea where he is making this?
I have no idea. No.
Like it is bunker in Hawaii or something? Like what?
Yeah, he's definitely not here in DC.
Is it a gold chain?
Yes. His whole look has changed, right? And, to your point about the Musk-Zuckerberg brawl that almost came to be, remember that was going to be organized by Dana White, the CEO of the UFC CEO, who is now on Meta's board. And so there is definitely like a lot of bro energy going on here in combination with the tech policy aspect.
Yeah, I think the bro energy thing is real. Zuckerberg, what was it, yesterday announced he's putting Dana White on the Facebook board, Dana White of UFC, and now this. This is fascinating. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's good to see you. We appreciate it. We started the show tonight by saying Donald Trump is laying out a grand vision for America to return to American dominance and embrace the idea of American exceptionalism. It's a message that propelled him back to the White House. Well, the young men of the U.S. national junior hockey team just displayed their own version of American exceptionalism on ice. For the first time in American history, the team is back to gold medalist standards at the World Championship. They got it back-to-back gold medalists. They overcame a 2-goal deficit to defeat Finland in overtime. And while the win would make any American smile, it was their celebration afterwards that caught our eye. They didn't just sing the national anthem as the Stars and Stripes went up. Well, they belted it. You'd never see that in an NFL, NBA, or Major League Baseball game. Certainly the girls on the U.S. women's soccer team didn't do it after their win. It just doesn't happen anymore. In a way, right, it's sad that young men showing pride in America is news, but it is news. A Gallup poll last year found less than a quarter of 18 to 34-year-olds are extremely proud to be an American, and it's been sinking over the past few years. And Gen Z has a lot of problems. But something tells us these young men won't need lessons in patriotism. In fact, they do not. The best parts of America, which is always nice to celebrate here. And in the worst times in America, often brings out the best of Americans. That will undoubtedly happen in Los Angeles, as there are hundreds, if not thousands, of firefighters now rushing to put their lives on the line between these flames and thousands of houses in the way. We've seen houses go up in flames without even the least bit of intervention firefighters. They are behind the 8 ball and behind the curve on a fire that is growing out of control. 80-mile-an-hour winds in Los Angeles. Back to the ground when we come back. All right, back to a breaking news out of California. Nancy Liu, who was encircled by flames a little bit earlier in the broadcast, has now gotten to a safe position, and yet flames are back there again. The winds have picked up as well. Nancy and her photographer, Nate, are back with us. Nancy, we can see, I think, just to the left of you, there's a bunch of flames coming in. All right, Nancy's having a little bit of a problem hearing us, and this happens in these breaking news situations. You've got a case where the cell phone networks get overwhelmed, so our ability to communicate with her, in other words, for her to hear what we're saying, has been lost. Her pictures have been absolutely incredible as she's been reporting there. Nate, her photographer, also has done yeoman's work. The pictures on the right are from KTLA, our sister station or our affiliate station there. Nancy, if you can hear me, we've been with your picture for a while. If
yeah,
you could,
I can.
All right, great. If you could just get Nate to zoom out and show us the flames, and I think you're standing on one of the evacuation routes. Is this what people are driving through?
Yeah, and I mean, I hope you can. It feels apocalyptic out here. It's smoky, and yes, you can see off in the distance there, Leland, those are flames. And we are in the heart of Pacific Palisades. We're near Sunset Boulevard and Temescal Canyon Road, and you can see flames near that truck. That is actually a bus stop. near Palisades High School. And just like minutes ago, the flames were just about 20 feet high and nearing that truck. So we had cleared our way. We stepped back because we were worried that truck, might catch fire and blow. But look there, the embers that fly, you can see it starting new fires here in the street, off in the distance there. And that's the dynamic situation with this fire, Leland. It's because it's so windy that embers pick up, they fly somewhere else, they start new fires, and it's just creating, it's just a disastrous situation right now.
Yeah, firestorm.
And, at last word, there's just there's no
so it's
control right now.
4:55 or so right now, which makes it, you think of it, so it looks like dusk-like, and that's the smoke that's pouring in. We saw you earlier in front of homes that were burning to the ground with no firefighters in front of them. Have they gotten more resources, or is this still a situation where the fire department is really behind the curve here?
No, the fires that we were at earlier, we actually left and we saw the fire trucks coming in. And look, just beyond me here, you can see another large fire that's sparked here. And again, I'm right near Pacific Palisades High School. Near that block, down the block here, we already saw a car that's been destroyed from embers that landed on it, and that caught fire as well. But yeah, Leland, I don't know if you can tell how windy it is out here, but it really is just whipping and quite dangerous. So
yeah, dangerous again, indeed, and obviously,
I can only use
Nancy.
The word,
Nancy, you and your crew, you and Nate have been doing great work. Boy, when that fire gets up to those transformers, it's not going to be good news. You guys stay safe. Nancy, thank you very much. The point Nancy made about the wind is key. That's what's pushing these fires right now. The wind gusts in Pacific Palisades are in the 30 miles an hour. That's expected to go to 80 miles an hour tonight. Cuomo has more on that. Also more on Mark Zuckerberg eliminating the fact checkers at Facebook.